Have you ever heard someone say you shouldn't face two mirrors directly towards each other or you might open a portal? Well, there may be something to that. Now, you have to understand the history of mirrors. Going back to China and Europe, there was this custom that when someone would pass away, you would cover the mirror because it was believed that when their spirit would leave their body, if it happened to see its own reflection, it would realize it was a spirit and it would stay here in the living world. It was also believed that when a person had passed on and their spirit was traveling to the other world, then sometimes evil spirits might jump into the mirror to sort of mimic this spirit. So by covering the mirror, you would protect yourself from evil spirits entering it. But you have to understand that, like any object, a mirror especially is a vessel. And spirits see these things as opportunities to communicate with the living world. At the same time, anything negative sees this as an opportunity to use these things to promote fear. So, yes, a mirror can essentially be haunted or contain spirits. Now, this is a story that I had heard from Arkadelphia. There was this husband and wife. They bought up this old fixer-upper, and they were surprised at how cheap it was selling. Even though it needed work, it still was a big, beautiful home. And so they buy this home and they, close. And the first day when they go inside, they thought it was strange because every single mirror in the house was covered. And the mirrors that were hanging on the wall were actually turned around backwards. So the first night they were there, they started uncovering the mirrors and turning the hanging mirrors back, forward. Well, as they're doing this, the wife all of a sudden notices that their husband is staring at one of the mirrors on the wall, like very intently. And as she's watching him, it's almost like he's in some kind of trance or daze. So she goes over to him and says, like, honey, are you okay? And finally he snaps out of it. And he said that was weird. And she said, what was weird? And he was like, I don't know. I just looked in the mirror and I felt terrified and I can't really explain it. Like, I don't know what just happened. So he's like, whatever, let's, get back to moving into our new home. So a couple weeks pass, and from time to time, out of the corner of her eye, the wife would swear that she would see a face in all of the mirrors, like when she would walk by them. But she would look again and there'd be no one there. But she thought maybe, I'm just sort of seeing, a reflection of myself kind of bouncing off the mirror or whatever. So one of the things that she was kind of worried about was in her bedroom, there was a mirror behind the bed and in front of the bed, and they were facing directly towards each other. And she had always heard stories that was never a good thing. But she couldn't really move these mirrors because they had sort of been almost built into the house. Well, one night she wakes up and she hears like someone talking. She looks over. Her husband is now out, not in the bed. And she's like, who is my husband talking to like at this hour? So she starts going to look for him, and she finds that like he's in the bathroom with the door closed. She kind of like manages to see through the crack of the door that her husband is sitting there like talking to himself while he's looking in the mirror. And so she's like, who in the world, like, who's he talking to? So she goes back to bed. Next day she wakes up. She asks her husband, like, hey, who were you talking to last night in the bathroom? And he goes, what are you talking about? I wasn't talking to anyone. She goes, well, you got up in the middle of the night. You were talking to someone in the bathroom. And he's like, no, I was sleeping in the bed next to you. And he had no recollection of ever being in the bathroom. Well, this started happening on a regular basis. He'd be in the bathroom, like talking to someone in the mirror. And the next day, he would always not remember it. And not only that, she would see him randomly around the house, staring into the mirrors, talking to someone. Until one night, she's in her bed, and she wakes up. Her husband's not there, so she figures he must be talking to these mirrors again, or whatever. But she said all of a sudden, she realized, like, she couldn't move. And no matter what she did, she just couldn't move. And she said all of a sudden, she looked out of the corner of her eye because she could still move her eyes, and she's seen the mirror in front of the bed like start kind of glowing. And all of a sudden in the mirror, she sees the face of this man. And he's just a beautiful looking man. And she can't, like figure out like who in the world like is this man in the mirror. At the same time, she's panicking because she can't move. All of a sudden, she said this man stepped out of the mirror. And she could see him, he's this tall guy with, slick back brown hair and blue eyes and, just this really like almost looking like a model kind of person. And she said he slowly made his way toward the bed. But as he got closer, his face started to change. And she said right as he got within a few feet of her next to the bed, his face had changed to this decrepit looking horse face. And she said that like there was blood dripping from his eyes and out of his nose. She said this thing just sort of bent over, got right up into her face, and started like licking the sides of her face. And next thing she knows, she said like her husband came in the room and it was like she was able to move again. This man was gone. And her husband's like, I think something's wrong with this house. And she's like, yeah, and she tells him what had just happened. So the next day they take out every single mirror in the house and the activity stops. So what do you think? Can mirrors be haunted?